I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Do you want to speak during the privilege of the floor, or do you want to speak in Ken's place during the
whatever is more convenient for you.
Okay, why don't we do it with the committee, which is the next thing.
Oh, that works.
Okay, so no privilege of the floor. All right. Did everyone get a chance to read over the minutes of last month's meeting? I know we just got them.
Nope.
You want to take a few minutes to do that, and we can then decide if everyone's okay with them? I thought you waved at me.
Having the vapors.
Oh, sorry. It's warm in here. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes?
So the only question is, there's these 700s on here instead of 600s. Yeah. Which way we?
I've forgotten that.
I generally put 7.
Right, but didn't we?
It is unanimous.
Right, but the.
But if there's any type of dissension.
There was a time when there wasn't, and the president would not vote.
Okay. Okay. Well,
All right. So, do I have a motion?
yeah.
Do I have a motion to accept the minutes?
Yeah. Motion.
Bernie, second. Norma, thank you. Treasurer's report, please.
Okay. Evening, everyone. Good to see everyone again. We have the June 30th report. It's obviously still preliminary, but it's, probably 99% of the expenses are in. There's still a few more in the mail. It came today that are June 30th, as I was just mentioning with Bernie. So there'll be some more expenses to hit the books before the year is closed, June 30th, 2011. But more or less, we're under for the year overall on the budget by about $21,000. $1,175,000 in spending compared to $1,196,000. The salaries line is distorted because there was a payroll on June 30th. That was a 27th paycheck in the fiscal year.
Mm-hmm.
So really it's over by 1. But I went back to look at the first check of the year, which was July 1st of last year, which was the period of the prior year. So when that gets taken out, with the year end closing, that was $22,000. So really, if you subtract that out, we're over by about $3,500 on the salary for the year. So $3,500 out of $600,000 is less than 1%. So more or less right on target for the salary. The books, I'm caught up through June 20th. I think I entered invoices for Baker and Taylor that were up to around late June, I think it was. You saw that big, huge stack.
Yeah.
So there's still some more of them to go in, but overall the books are probably going to be right on budget to slightly over budget. The whole, as you can see, the total library materials processing line is, $78,926. Yeah, slightly under, so when everything is entered, it'll probably be slightly over, so more or less, we're right on all of our targets. So we had a pretty good year, pretty much stayed on budget. The upcoming year will be tough since we didn't really change the total, but we should be okay. And we're ending the year with 276,000 roughly, so even if there's another 20 or 25 to come out of that for the year, we're pretty much ending the year where we started cash-wise. Hence, we were right on budget, so that the cash didn't go down or go up. It stayed the same. We should be getting our TAN check on August 15th, I think. Last year is when we got it. It's 75,000. So when that goes into the account, that should have enough funds until we get our first full tax revenue check on September 30th or October 1st. That's 50% of the budget, so 50% of the 1,151,000. So we should have plenty of cash to operate until then. And the last comment I'll make is the loan is now, where did I put that sheet? But we're approaching the halfway mark on that, I think. The halfway being 300. Yeah, there it's right, 335, 861 on June 30th, and then on July 1st, before I went on vacation, I made sure we 328, 792.
Nice.
So it's really going down pretty good. 7,000 per month to the principal, so it's really knocking it down.
Great.
So we're in good shape.
Thank you, Jack.
Thank you.
Anyone have any questions for Jack? Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I do.
You good? Go ahead.
Yeah, if we're gonna do some work on this building, some of the items we'll discuss, how much money is available?
For building maintenance?
Yeah, I mean, I look at the budget line item and it's well over 1,200 left, I believe. But
Yeah, there was something else
that's
that we were
trivial, that's
talking about.
nothing.
No. Trying to,
You see, we just have a balance at the end of the year that we can apply towards these building
I think
things.
that's the logic we were using before. Because we're under budget 1,800 for the building repairs, and altogether it's like 3,000 under for building expenses, but I have no idea what,
Yeah, that's- okay,
yeah, I don't think we
we'll
have.
get into it.
Right, well, we can get into it now. Committee
Alright.
reports. Physical resources, lay it on me.
Thank you.
Here.
Frank, Jim and myself and Matt met and Danny. Well, Danny actually put a list together at first that we went through, and we walked around this building, and there are a lot of things that need attention. It's amazing. And the one thing that stood out was, I don't know if you could see it through the window, but the tree that has about a 20 or 25% decline in pitch pointed right at this building here. And we discussed this, like last year. What if something happened to this building that caused us to do some construction that might cause us to revisit the mandate, the
ADA.
Right, ADA, and there we have a tree in that predicament that could cause us to do something like that. And the thing with this tree is, if you look midway up, you'll see some rotted branches. So, there are some real issues with that tree that we really should take care of sometime soon before this, it happens that it falls on this building. And it's not a great deal of money. It's probably not a great deal of money. It's probably like 1,500 or 2,000. Worst case, I don't know if you've got.
I have a couple of figures, but if you want to go into executive
Okay.
session later, I can let you know what's
All
happening
right.
with that.
So that's on, I think, the top of our list. And there's a lot of little things that we really need to take care of. And there are prioritized in highest, medium, low. Some of this stuff isn't going to cost that much, but it does need attending to, such as the brickwork and some of the wood to protect it from rotting. Well, actually, we need to replace some of the wood around some of these windows. And, well, actually, I think this should be revisited in that I think the roof and that leak should be looked into as soon as possible. My understanding is there's a lot of insulation up there that collects the rainwater. So we don't know how bad it is. I mean, we should at least know where it's coming in, put a bucket or something until we're able to determine what needs to be done. And, you never know. I seen I seen leaks where it just built up, and then all of a sudden it just
ceiling
fell
comes
in.
down, yeah.
So
Or mold.
or mold too.
That's what
Sure.
I mean,
was,
it could be toxic.
Exactly. I don't know.
Toxic.
I don't think it's just dissipating. There's just probably a bit of moisture up there.
Over the last month, it came through for the first time.
Oh, okay.
We had to put a bucket out.
So,
I think that should move up. That should be
so
high
yeah,
priority.
I think we should move that up, and actually, I think the sidewalk doesn't matter. Make a decision, but the sidewalk, I don't think it's a big deal. It's kind of cracked. It's kind of indented, and it's our responsibility to fix. We've checked with the village,
And the restaurant too, it's their trucks were backing into it, the damage to cloth.
Well,
well,
you
I
know
don't
what happened? Sorry.
Probably.
The next day, I drove in, and our UPS guy was up on the same side. It's sort of like everybody.
All right, now it's on film.
Well, never mind then.
But it's a general, it's sort of
Yeah,
everyone
so-
parks. And I think the best idea is some kind of preventive thing, like you had
Little
mentioned. Once we
barrier
get it done,
on the
get
curb.
something that we can
Or spikes.
spikes like they do with the pigeons.
Yeah. But it's not going to cost a great deal of money regardless.
It's just a lot of little things that each cost not a great deal of
Mhm.
money.
Well, true is that.
No.
So I know Matt's been taking the lead and talking to people and getting quotes on some of this stuff, and I think I think we can move the painting of the aluminum siding down in the list.
Yeah.
We have a lot of little more important things to take care of.
Structural things.
So I'm not going to go through each of these. I'm sure we've gone through it, and I think I don't know if Matt in executive session you'll bring up some of these
Mhm.
the costs involved, but
But shouldn't
That's
we decide tonight to go ahead and move forward and give Matt some guidance as to get some bids and
Well,
to,
he's
for the
already-
tree and
he's
the
already-
roof?
he's already
Yeah,
done that.
Both the tree and the
We'll
roof,
discuss in executive
We got a few
session.
we got a couple for the tree.
and the, not the roof yet.
We had someone look at the roof, never gave us numbers. I can have them come back. This is probably a couple of years ago when we first looked at that. But Mark Gargiulo has a recommendation of a guy. I can have him come. I'm sure he can do it in a week or two. Come in and look at it if you like.
Sounds good.
So I will discuss further in executive session. The report speaks for itself, and Jim did a good job in putting this together for everybody.
Yes, he did. Okay, well, I had an oversight. I forgot to have us approve the treasurer's report. I always confuse whether it's the treasurer's or director's report we have to approve, but, so, sorry about that.
It's
So-
okay.
So I have a motion to approve, accept Jack's treasurer report that we already heard. Thanks, Bernie. Anyone second it? Oh, Keith is second. Thanks. Okay, now back, where were we? Are you done?
I'm done.
Okay. Now, Ken couldn't be here tonight, so
I'm gonna go over there.
his
so you guys
lovely
don't have to
assistant is going to
turn.
catch us up on what Shakespeare in the Park and all the other
I
wonderful
actually
things.
have two separate reports.
All right,
so
lay it
the
on
first
me.
one is for Shakespeare in the Park. We opened last weekend. Phenomenal turnout. Day one, we had between 75 and 100 people. Day two, between 100 and 125 or more. Ken stopped counting at about 75. And then people kept flooding in. Awesome turnout, awesome response from the community, awesome weather, thankfully. Next weekend's looking a little iffy, but we'll see. And the way it's looking is next weekend we're going to run out of tent space. The way people have said, oh, I'm coming and I'm bringing my mom and my grandma and her friend and the brother and the sister and the cousins and their friends, and we're just going to run out of space, which is good because then we get, more free will donations and we get more involvement. So far so good. And we didn't have no accidents, no deaths, no nothing. So that was a plus.
You almost didn't have a porta potty.
Yeah.
I got a call on Saturday.
The porta potties came here, but then we directed them to the park because
Wow.
that's where they're needed. So luckily that was all sorted out on Saturday morning. Now that leads me into my second sort of bubble, which is, I don't know how many of you are involved in Facebook, but the Goshen Public Library Theater, the Goshen Public Library and Historical Society Educational Theater Series now has its own Facebook.
Oh, great.
So you can keep up to date not only with Shakespeare in the Park, but with things like Cobb, Paul Robeson, anything that Ken puts together at the music hall is going to be on the Facebook.
I like that.
Yeah, so it's got its own separate entity, which is really nifty
Play on words.
because
Like.
yeah,
I
go
got it.
go
Oh.
on
Did
and
you-
like it.
Clever.
I
Kate.
see what I followed. I followed.
Oh, that's
So,
Twitter.
Yeah, it was good. So that way, people who we actually got a question on Facebook today about registration for one of our programs, for summer programs. So people like that are moms and dads and are really not interested in that can be on the library Facebook. But if you want to be, involved in the theater and the creative process, you can follow both if you want, which is great. And I've gotten great responses to it. And we made a little event and people can attend our Shakespeare in the Park, so that was really cool. And we're also on Twitter, which we've revamped the Twitter. So it's now, we have a program called Hootsuite, and you can update all your social media at once.
Mhm.
So you can I have both Facebooks and a Twitter being updated all the time, and you can pre-post. So I have from now till Thursday. I sat down for like an hour and a half and did a whole week's worth of Twitter and Facebook and double Facebooking and linking and all sorts of crazy technological things. So it's like ready to go. So if there's anything you guys want on there, feel free to shoot me an email or call me or call my mom and tell her to call me because chain of command works like that.
What's your name on Twitter?
We are Goshen NY Pub Lib.
Goshen NY Pub Lib.
Yeah, 'cause we used to be GPLHS.
Nobody knows what that
And
is.
nobody knew what that was.
Right.
Because I tell people we're the Goshen Public Library and Historical Society, they're like, what? So we're now Goshen, New York Public Library.
Got it.
Just shortened into the amount of characters they'll let us have, basically. So if you search Goshen, you don't get Goshen, Indiana, you get Goshen, New York.
Right.
So that works out really well. We've had a lot of really good responses to it. Actually, we've had parents come in and said, I didn't know there was a program going on today, but we're registered for summer reading, and I was able to come because it was on Facebook. I'm like, that makes me feel happy. We got like 150 people following us, so we're getting bigger and better every day.
Great.
So that's it.
Thank you.
Thank
You're welcome. Like us on Facebook.
And
Okay,
just a
Matt.
note on the play, it was wonderful and it was well attended. The weather couldn't have asked for better weather.
I know.
It was
I'm hoping.
fabulous to sit under the
And
tent with
to-
that breeze and the play. It was
Thank you.
well done. To the entire
I just wanted
cast.
to add to that Ken does a really nice speech in the beginning and talks about libraries and how important the library is to this particular process. So he is definitely making the audience know who is responsible for this wonderful thing. And when I was there, Norma was there, and Keith was there, and Norma from upstairs was there. So the library's face is getting out there and being seen by a lot of people. It's wonderful.
Thank you. All right, Matt.
Good
You're
evening,
up.
everybody.
Can I just interject?
Oh, sure.
I'm sorry, under, committee reports, could we discuss the human resources since we have it and it's a committee?
Oh, yes,
thing.
sure. We decided last year that we were going to, evaluate the director before the election, but this year's election was pointless, so it never really came up. So previously we had been evaluating him in July, and we decided, remember, last year that, it was better to have the board that had worked with him for an entire year evaluating. So we're going to do this now, and we're probably going to do it again in March, is why I'm mentioning it. So this, take this home, and we'll bring it back next month,
Okay.
and the executive committee will deal with it, and then we will talk to you.
So the Human Resources Committee is not going to meet?
I'm
with
sorry,
people?
I said executive, I meant human resources.
Also, when you give this to myself next meeting,
Mhm.
I will compile
All of it into one.
all the information, how many ones, twos, and threes, if it varies too much, and then the three, you run it last year, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, human resources will meet to go over what we've discussed and what the board thinks, and then after we call Matt in, the three of us, and then we can discuss his tier, which is just, it just happens anyway. Usually it's just sequential. If there were any major problems or anything, then that would change, but that's just what happens.
Are there any other committees that wish to have a moment before we move on to the director's report? Because the only thing that was down there is physical and other, so. Sunshine, nothing
Since
The
last
sun
year,
is still shining.
The sun's still shining? Okay. All right, so, Okay, Matt, now you're up. Thank you, Tiffany.
I mentioned the book sale. They did very well this year. The Friends had a good catch, almost $2,000 up from last year. They were able to clean the shed out too. Right prior to the sale, this wall-to-wall books you couldn't get in there. It was dense. So they're looking for donations again. And I think the next sale is the last Friday of this month, farmers market sale. What else? This was sort of a strange month. I was in contact with RCLS to nominate Michelle and Company for their big event from the last. Actually, I guess Harry Potter's having another premiere. The Part 1 premiere. They had that. What started as a premiere party, but ended up being a much more sort of thoroughgoing celebration of all things Potter. So we'll see what happens with that. Every year, I know you probably remember, you've been to the RCLS fall.
Mm-hmm.
They pick for various categories, winner of YA programming, or and people go up and do talks. So I'm hoping that they'll. It was suggested to us by some of the people close to the committee, so maybe that's a good sign that we at least put their name in. The other big thing was the auditor's request that we have an actuarial firm do this GASB 45 forecast, I guess you could call it. And I read through it. Most of it's sort of over my head, but I got the bottom line. I see what they're trying to do, and it seems better than what Rob Schultz had feared in terms of the cost of post-employment benefits to retirees. And that was something that I guess we learned that wasn't actually didn't have to be done by regulation, but strongly suggested that, if I understood correctly, that it was part of your audit. In fact, the auditing firms, if I remember right, or at least one of them, wouldn't do the audit without that being a part of it. So it's something they want to see reflected in those numbers. I received a complaint about here. Back to this easement business, and luckily I talked to the mayor, and I sent over our contract with. Strangely, it's a little bit ambiguous, but it does say that the municipality, singular, takes care of the easement, and then you look and where it's signed, it's both the town and the village. So I don't know if they're having a little trouble figuring out who that municipality is, because it doesn't specify in the document. It does say that the municipality takes care of the easement, but not which one.
You had one person complain about
He
a
said-
pothole?
Well, he described it as craters on the moon.
He confused CVS parking lot with us.
I did bring that up. So but that was actually the only complaint I've ever had of that road or easement.
Well, it's a pretty much a dirt road.
Yeah.
He suggested we have somebody send someone over there with gravel to fill up. I think he wanted me to do it at first.
You should. Is that in this grading here?
Physical labor.
Yeah, right. In service of the library.
Physical resources, you already covered that. I was going to mention that I did talk to, I'm getting to numbers, but I talked so far to 3 cutting services. So I have 2 numbers for that, and I also talked to a carpenter to take a look at the structural issues in the building, the wood and stuff, before we look any further about painting. I did talk to BOCES again. They're going to come and do a materials testing. Ellen Mary had the good idea to ask whether the materials testing would be sort of a permanent thing. If you do have to do it every year if you want it. What if we put this up? She said no. Once it's done, it's done.
Yeah.
So those
And
records
it's not
are
been
held.
done before.
It hasn't been. They have no record of it having been done. And she said it's a relatively new thing. These particular issues with the, I guess the 2 things she mentioned, not just the paint, but the what do you call it? The caulking has to be tested for asbestos or something. She'll be here on Thursday to do the testing this week, right? Yeah.
So, it's not free.
It's not free, but it's going to have to be done at some point. So
Too much there. At least we only have to do it once. That's
another newsletter
yeah.
finished. We did meet with kind of ad hoc committee about the newsletter, and we're always for the next one, we'll meet some more and get some ideas. We got some good ideas. We're still talking about possibly altering the size. There's questions about, well, there's various questions that we haven't nailed down yet, so I won't open that right now, but still looking for more input and as the next newsletter.
You talk
Comes
about
around.
making something that's very good even better.
Yes, of course.
Right. Because I
Yeah,
tell you,
well, that's
I
nice to
think
hear.
it's a great newsletter.
Okay,
I
good.
think you guys do a great job.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Thinking, is there anything else I missed? We did the July is payroll certification time, which means that the merit increases attached to the annual reviews, which just wrapped up, have to be sent over to the Civil Service Department. I'm happy to say that Jack and I, with a lot of help, input also from Carol, some ideas, were able to have an overall increase of approximately 2% in the whole budget, and we had planned for we had actually budgeted 4% on top of last year, so we're well within that range with 2% room to move. So it worked out, and I think everybody's where they should be on their on the grid that we all agreed on last year. So it seems to be holding and working. That's about it. I'll get into some more details at the end of the meeting.
Thank you, Matt.
Yes.
Is there any unfinished business? I don't think there was. Anybody? No. Okay. We're moving right along. New business. Well, I don't know if you ever looked at the long-range plan that was in your binder, but it was mostly a sales pitch for a new big giant library, and it's not really. We have a mission statement, and we have bylaws, we have personnel policies. We do not have a plan. And every year we go to the public and ask them for $1.2 million to run the library. And if we were to go to a bank, the bank would say, well, let's see your business plan. We don't have one. So we have all of these handy books, and we have this board, and we're all very intelligent people. And I want to plan a work session for September where we actually start writing an actual plan for why we're here, what we do, what's our purpose, what's our space in the community, what we contribute. So when someone says, well, why should we give you $1.2 million, we can say, because this is why, this is what we do. And then from there, we can then come up with a growth plan, a building plan, a moving, whatever else. And that will be, we will know whether or not it's in line with our overriding purpose for being. Do you follow?
Mm-hmm.
Any questions?
I look forward to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now the next thing is just, when are we going to do that in September? Our September meeting's the 12th?
Yes.
Yes, so can we do it on the 19th? Would that be good? I think the 5th is Labor Day, so.
It's like being back in college.
I know. Some of these are newer versions of the same book, but since they're rather pricey, we decided that if they're not that much difference,
Just
there's
like
not enough
college.
difference. So yeah,
Do you need
really.
to
The
put
cover
any
might be the.
Facebook on there?
No, I'll just write down who that is. Okay.
So,
So
is there an
how's?
assignment in this book?
Well, I would like you to look through it with the idea in mind that what we're trying to put together is an overriding plan of what the library does, what its purpose is in the community, how we function. Kind of like, you know, the guidelines we're going to use in the future to decide whether or not the goals we want are in line with,
Okay.
you know?
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes,
Am I-
of course it makes sense. I have to
I don't
look
know,
at-
as everybody's
I
quiet, I'm
don't
wondering
know
if I'm just.
what's covered in the book.
Yeah.
Can I interject?
Yeah, go right ahead.
I just took a class on this. I mentioned at NYLA. And the gentleman giving the class is actually a what's the word? Someone you hire to come and help you do it.
Consultant.
But he said that it can be a really energizing, fun, great thing, and it can also be a train wreck if you don't, because it's as you see. When you look through it, you'll see. I mean, and you can
It's
do it at
can be
different
a long-
levels.
Yeah.
And you can do it, you don't have to follow that word for word. In fact, I was looking at Robert Hubscher's. He has a similar guide, and I can tell that, it's based off of this, since this is the kind of, this is the suggested by the ALA. This is kind of the master plan. So, but I just wanted to mention that he's had this gentleman that gave the class has had libraries where it's really went off to stunning effect, and other people that just dropped the ball halfway through because it took much more than they assumed it would to really get it going. The other thing I wanted to mention, I didn't forget, Norma, I did have the department heads look at, and I have to say something interesting as I looked at these tonight. We did this independently. I just asked them to send stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And this just goes to show you how disparate ideas are about what library, because you go from ideas I had about the technology plan to something that Eleanor said. I mean, I was saying 25 computers. Eleanor says she just wants 5 more. Eleanor's talking about 10 total. I was talking about 25 plus separate dedicated computers for language instruction. So we're all over the map, which is not a bad thing. It just it just should be
It's a
interesting
start.
to hash through
It's a
this
start.
stuff. So I just made one copy actually. If you would like to look through that too, you can see some of the ideas. But department
I'd
to
be
department.
privileged.
Well, we can pass them around. But you had asked that it be done by
No,
July.
but this is a good springboard to
this, right.
help us plan for the future.
So, right. There's that.
So, have you gone through this book?
I took it to the beach with me. I didn't get to it. One of them's covered has some sand on the cover. That's the one. I've looked through it. I've looked through parts of it. I think that might be wrong. Sorry. And I've looked through Robert Hubbard's, which is a kind of a distillation of it. I don't know if I brought it last time. It's the smaller spinal bound. And I took that 5-hour class where we discussed the main elements of it. And I think and you actually all have had an introduction to it, because when Robert Hubbard was here and gave you his thing, it was based on this. And his thing is sort of backwards in a sense from how we usually would think. It's sort of, we think of a building and then we think of what to put in it. Where this project is to start kind of from the community and look forward. I don't know how many years. They used to say 10. That's probably too far these days. But say 2 or 5. And you look, you do a survey of what your community has, and you sort of ask questions about what a community should have, and then you ask what agencies are there that take care of these particular deficits. And when you're all done with this kind of flow chart, you come down to, well, what's left here and what can the library do? And then you kind of work back from there. So the idea is that you sort of, for lack of a better way to put it, you kind of come up with the soul of the library. Like, what are we here for in the community? And then you build the bones and stuff around that. And then you look for space. How do you...
Well, it's actually, what I was thinking more of is the basic, like we have a basic mission statement, we need a basic plan. That would be the library plan here, would be the library
Right.
plan if we were in a different building.
It's building
Beyond
independent.
that, right, it's the entity of the library. What is our plan as a library, regardless of where we live? Once we have that, then we know, well, what could our 2-year plan be? What could our 5-year plan be? Because now we know who we are. It's like deciding we need a house or deciding anything else. You have to figure out what's the basic plan first, and then from there we'll know which goals are in line with our basic plan. So what we want to focus on in September is that basic plan, and then beyond, once we've gotten that, and it doesn't have to be a monstrous document, it could be a page, 2 pages, and then from there, then we decide what's our 2-year plan, our 5-year plan going forward. You know, right now we're here, we have to make the best of this building, we have to make the best of this situation, but 10 years from now, can we still be here? I don't think so. 5 years from now, you know, that kind of a thing, but we don't even have the basic why do we exist at all plan. And that's what we
Right.
should be working on first.
I think Frank was he sent an email a couple of months back with, I think it was Frank who sent some links, one especially to a video of some bearded guy,
Yeah,
librarian,
yeah, I think so.
who was a kind of a futurist as far as where libraries will probably go in the future, or what you have to think about to bring libraries into the 21st century. I think that, and there were several other videos listed on the the right side that were about what librarians and administrators see libraries being in the future, and I think they're all they should be a mandatory viewing, because they're really had some great ideas, where he and others see libraries going in order to survive, of all things,
Right.
because we're changing.
Sure.
So if I run across, I'll dig out that and find some other links. I'll send links to everybody if you want to review those videos if you haven't seen them. They're well worth watching. So.
Thanks, Keith. So, September 19th at 7:30 for a work session, is that all right with everyone?
Okay, you want us to read the entire book by
No,
now?
no, I don't,
Okay.
here's the thing.
That's 'cause
I
that's
think,
like
yeah, no. What, you got things
For
to do
some
this
of
summer?
us.
Summer reading, Norma, come on. No, I don't expect you to read this cover to cover. I really, thumb through it and whatever strikes your fancy, because I don't think we have to get complicated about this. I don't think this has to be a big heaving document. No one will read it. It's a page or two. Just basically, we are the Goshen Public Library. This is what we do. This is how we serve the community. This is what the community expects from us. This, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it's mostly keep it as simple as we can. And this is kind of involved, and it goes into quite a few other things beyond that. And these are good books to have even for the future of planning our 2-year plan or 5-year plan or whatever else. But right now we just have to define our existence. That's what this basic plan is going to be about.
Well, we could all be prepared to discuss task number 1, design the planning process.
Well, this could take forever too. I mean, we could spend the whole year doing this, but I thought if some things really aren't going to be appropriate to this particular library, this particular town, this,
Mm-hmm.
I don't expect you to read the whole thing, but
Ain't gonna happen.
I know, I'm not going to read
Sorry.
it either, so don't feel
I'm
bad.
saying it in public.
Me neither.
I will
But-
peruse.
Yes, peruse and take notes, and I kind of figure the work session will be all of us throwing our opinions on the table and coming up with a rough idea of what that basic plan is going to be. You got it? And then either we are just geniuses and we get it all worked out that first meeting and then we're done, or that gives us an idea of what we still have to work on, where we have to go next, and because right now we got nothing.
We have, I don't want to take this home, and this seems your only copy.
I can PDF it and send
Thank
it
you
around.
very much.
Okay.
That'd be great.
Or include it in our next board packet
Sure.
so that we have it for that September work
Okay.
meeting, because
good.
I think that's a very good beginning of at least where the staff is. It shapes our thinking, because they're the ones using the building on a day-to-day basis, and they know what the patrons have asked for and
Mhm.
need. And that shapes, that can give us ideas as to where to take our thinking.
Mm-hmm.
At least my thinking, let me not speak for the populace.
Right. That's more toward a building plan. not
And
so
staff
much just
needs,
the-
yeah.
Right, but
Yeah.
this first meeting is more about just the basic, what is our purpose kind of plan,
Okay.
Not that that's not necessary, but.
I'm fine with September 19th, however, because I don't have the school calendar yet,
Okay.
and we have back to school nights, and I am now assigned to 2 buildings,
You might
and
have.
I must attend open
Okay.
houses in both buildings, so if I'm not here, because of work
All right,
related,
that's fine.
but as of now,
Okay. And you're
I
not
can
gonna
do
be
that.
here in August, you said, right?
I will be here in August.
Oh,
I
you
will
will?
make every attempt to be here,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions?
What time are we
Comments?
meeting?
7:30, since
7:30?
that's our usual time, I figured that works. 7:30, September 19th for a work session, is that okay? And do you need to go into executive session? It's not on here.
Yeah, well, you can just call it.
I know, I'm
Oh.
just asking because you didn't,
I usually put it in there, and this is the first
right,
time I
okay.
didn't.
So we'll just do privilege of the floor. Okay. All right.
Potter wants to say something?
Yeah, there you go. All right, so I'll shut everything down.
Yeah.
We'll go into executive session. Jim's not here. Who's going to do that? Do you want to take the notes for Carol? Just
Well,
when we
it's
go
just
in.
in an